In this section about HTML5, we're talking about different ways to store and work offline. So it's storage and offline is the category you could say we're talking about in HTML5. In this particular example, I'm talking about storage. Storage previously in HTML was cookies, which are small text files called cookies that you can store on the client. And then the web server can access them. And in cookies, just simple rows of text. You can store visits or tracking things. There's some more evil things can be done as well by advertising and so forth. But I'm going to show how you do this in HTML5. Show the example first, actually. I'll write my name. So I'll say you can see page views 9 here. I've already looked at this page 9 times without clearing out the cookies, different tests and so forth, and that's of course stored in the cookie. So you can see that local values stored locally, store data in session, and so when I refresh the page, view values, clear values, and I can do view values, and it's undefined here. The session is still stored. Refresh. The difference between the local storage is that you can either store it permanently as in a cookie or in the session. In the session, when you store values, it's only available as long as the browser session is open. A session means when you've opened a window or tab. When you close it, those values disappear. But in a cookie, they remain as far or until you can set an expiration date on cookies, so they expire after a certain time, or if you physically clear them, as I did with the clear values. So I do refreshes, it's doing it every time I refresh and view the page. It's saying it's a new visit, so page views increases 1, 2, 3 here, and then if I clear the values, it'll go back to 1. And then storing simple things of text, not complex data. Store new values locally and they pop up. So, and there we have it. I'm going to show you the code. I'm going to warn you already, as I said, that once we get into the more HTML5 type of thing, there's going to be quite a bit of JavaScript. If you don't know JavaScript, we're going to have a course here in the foreseeable future, an open course as well about the basics of JavaScript. So I encourage you to take that. But until then, you'll just have to take my word for the JavaScript or try to learn it at the same time. But I'll talk through it quickly. So we'll jump to the code. I'm just going to hide the JavaScript first. Lots of functions. I'll put those back. And just hide the whole script tag. There we go. Let's see the body. There's nothing exciting about the body, and almost everything takes place in the JavaScript. But you're using JavaScript to manipulate the HTML, and that's basically what happens. That JavaScript gives you interaction on the client side in the browser. And so we can see form tags we've seen, and that's the first name and last name. And now we're using input types of buttons, not the submit buttons, but we're using the buttons to start a JavaScript. And then you have attributes that are actually calling events. I'm going through this rather quickly, but as I said, this attribute says on click, call the event the function store form data, and then this one calls view storage and store session, and then I'm sending 2 parameters to the function. 2 values are going to the function. What I'm basically doing is I'm setting document get element by ID. I'm using the DOM, the document object model. That's the way to break down an HTML page into its different elements. I'm using JavaScript to access that, and I say take the first name and take the last name and send it to that function. I do the same thing with the store session and store form data. So they get sent on the client here to the script. And we can say first, we'll jump down to the store form data. I send them to the function. They get their own name when they go there. I could call these anything I want. I could call them Superman or Batman. It doesn't really matter. But I call them first name or last name. It's more logical, makes for better programming. And so here we finally see the things that we're going to access, the API we have to access. Local storage, dot, and then I make up this name as well. What I want to store, local storage, it could be number of visits, it could be favorite color, it could be different layouts you may want to save in your web page. And so first name value, the value sent, and I store it in the local storage, and then I make a string and the locally stored values. This is how I show. So I'm sending text into the web page that pops up so we can see something, that something's actually happened. View storage, the same thing, but the two differences here are local storage and session storage. Once again, local storage being the equivalent of a cookie, and session storage just for the duration that the browser is open. And once again, document by ID inner HTML. This is where I send these strings of text into the HTML of the local storage and session storage elements. And these are basically just div tags down here that I'm sending or putting HTML into so that we can see them. So basically, this is just a short example. Test this, then go through it. Try to figure out how it works. Feel free to ask questions in the forums, either of me or the other students, if there's anything that's unclear. And hopefully you don't get stuck too much on the JavaScript, and you can focus on seeing how the local storage and session storage works. And you have this code to start with and to test with. Good luck.